The alarm sounded at 3 in the morning. Jake Morrison jerked awake in his bunk, heart racing. Red lights flashed across the small cabin of the cargo ship Wildflower. He pulled on his boots and ran to the bridge where Linda Hayes was already at the controls. "What is it?" Jake asked, sliding into the commander seat. "Distress signal," Linda said. Her fingers moved across the screen. "Medical emergency code. Universal frequency." Jake leaned forward and looked at the navigation display. A red dot blinked on the screen. His stomach dropped when he saw where it was coming from. "That signal is inside Krell space." Linda turned to look at him. Her face was pale. "We cannot go in there. The treaty says human ships must stay out." Jake knew she was right. The Krell were dangerous. They were huge reptile creatures that stood 20 feet tall. Their scales were thick like armor. Their teeth could bite through metal. 50 years ago, humans and Krell had almost gone to war. Now there was peace, but only because humans stayed away from Krell territory. But the signal kept beeping. "Medical emergency." Someone needed help. "How far inside their space?" Jake asked. 3 hours at full speed. Jake thought about it. He had grown up on a farm in Montana. His grandfather had been a doctor for animals. The old man had taught him that when something was hurt, you helped it. You did not ask questions first. You did not worry about danger. You just helped. "Set course for the signal," Jake said. "Jake, this is crazy. If the Krell find us, they will kill us." "Maybe. But someone is dying out there. I am not going to ignore that." Linda stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded and turned back to the controls. The Wildflower changed direction and accelerated toward Krell space. Jake spent the next 3 hours preparing. He checked his spacesuit. He gathered his medical supplies. The kit was basic, meant for treating humans on cargo runs. He had bandages, antibiotics, painkillers, and some simple tools. Nothing fancy. Nothing made for giant alien creatures. When they reached the source of the signal, Jake saw a small Krell ship floating in space. It was dark, no lights, no engine power. The ship was spinning slowly, tumbling end over end like a piece of garbage. "Life signs?" Jake asked. Linda checked her sensors. "One faint, whatever is in there is barely alive." Jake pulled on his helmet. "Keep the engines warm. If I am not back in 2 hours, leave without me." "I am not leaving you." "Yes, you are. That is an order. Someone needs to tell people what happened here." Before Linda could argue, Jake stepped into the airlock. The door sealed behind him. He clipped a tether line to his suit and pushed off into space. The distance between ships was only 50 meters, but it felt like miles. Jake drifted through the darkness, his breathing loud in his helmet. Stars surrounded him on all sides, beautiful and cold and empty. He reached the Krell ship and found the airlock. It took him 10 minutes to override the manual controls and get it open. The inner door led to a dark corridor. Jake turned on his helmet light and stepped inside. The ship was built for creatures much bigger than humans. The ceiling was 30 feet high. The doors were massive slabs of metal. Everything was covered in strange symbols that Jake could not read. He followed the corridor to what looked like a command deck. That was where he found the Krell. The creature was curled in the corner, trying to make itself small. Even curled up, it was 12 feet long. Its scales were deep red, almost the color of blood. They shimmered in the light from Jake's helmet. The Krell looked young. Jake did not know much about their species, but something about the size and the way it moved told him this was not a full adult, maybe the same as a human teenager. The creature saw Jake and made a sound. It was like metal scraping on stone. Then it opened its mouth and hissed. Rows of huge teeth filled its jaws. Each tooth was as long as Jake's forearm, sharp and curved like knives. Jake stopped moving. He held very still. The Krell could kill him in 1 second. One bite and he would be dead. But Jake had worked with scared animals before. He knew what fear looked like. This creature was trying to look dangerous, but really it was terrified. "Easy," Jake said softly. He knew the Krell probably could not understand his tone through the translator, but he said it anyway. "I am not going to hurt you." He held up his hands slowly, showing they were empty. The Krell watched him with golden eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. Jake took one small step forward. The Krell hissed again but did not attack. Jake took another step. Then another. He moved the way he used to move around wild horses back home. Slow, calm, no sudden movements. When he was close enough, Jake could see the problem. One of the big teeth in the front of the Krell's mouth was broken. A crack ran halfway up the tooth. The area around it was swollen. The gum tissue was dark and puffy. Infection. A bad one. Jake had seen tooth infections kill animals before. A horse on his grandfather's farm had died from one. The infection had spread to the blood. The horse had been dead in 3 days. He looked at the young Krell and felt a wave of sympathy. This creature was dying, alone in the dark, in pain, and scared. "Your tooth is sick," Jake said. He pointed at his own mouth, then at the Krell's swollen jaw. "I want to help." The Krell made another sound. This one was different, softer, almost like a whimper. Then its translator box crackled to life. The voice that came out was deep and rough, like rocks being crushed together. "Pain," the Krell said. "Much pain," Jake nodded. "I know, I can see that. Will you let me look closer?" The Krell did not answer with words, but it opened its mouth a little wider. That was trust. That was permission. Jake pulled out a small mirror and a penlight from his medical kit. His hands were shaking a little. He was standing inside the mouth of a creature that could bite him in half, but he forced himself to stay calm. He shined the light on the broken tooth and used the mirror to see behind it. The damage was worse than he thought. The crack had exposed the nerve inside the tooth. Bacteria had gotten deep into the root. The infection was spreading into the jawbone. If Jake did nothing, this creature would die. Maybe in a day. Maybe in a week. But it would die. Jake pulled back and the Krell closed its mouth. He could see the hope in those golden eyes. The creature knew Jake was trying to help. "I need to fix this," Jake said. "But I need tools. Better tools than what I have. Can you understand me?" The translator crackled. "Fix? You can fix? I can try. But you have to trust me. It will hurt at first. Then it will get better." The Krell was quiet for a moment. Then it said something that made Jake's chest tighten. "Please." Jake nodded. "Okay, I will be right back. Do not move. I'm going to get what I need." He made his way back to the airlock and crossed to the wildflower. Linda met him at the door. "Well?" she asked. "It is a young Krell, tooth infection, bad one. I need to do surgery or it will die." Linda stared at him. "Surgery? Jake, you are not a dentist. And that is not a human. I know, but I am all it has." Jake moved to the computer terminal. "I need you to search our database. Everything we have on Krell biology. Their blood, their nerves, their teeth, anything that might help. Jake, we barely have any information on Krell. They do not share medical data with other species. Then search for Earth reptiles, big ones, crocodiles, Komodo dragons, anything similar." While Linda worked, Jake started pulling supplies from the medical locker. Antibiotics, painkillers, surgical tools. None of it was right for the job, but it was all he had. He thought about his grandfather. The old man had performed surgery on a bull once, right there in the barn. No fancy hospital. No special equipment. Just knowledge and steady hands and the will to try. "I found something," Linda said. "Krell blood is similar to Earth reptiles. Iron-based, like ours. Their nerves respond to the same chemicals. And look at this. Their teeth have the same basic structure as mammal teeth. Enamel on the outside, dentin underneath, pulp and nerve in the center." Jake felt a surge of hope. Same basic structure meant the same basic problems. And maybe, just maybe, the same basic solutions. "Can the fabricator make me a dental drill?" Jake asked. "How big?" "Big. That tooth is the size of my arm." Linda's eyes went wide. Then she laughed. It was a scared laugh, but a laugh. "You are actually going to do dentistry on an alien monster." "Not a monster," Jake said. "Just a scared kid with a toothache." It took 2 hours for the fabricator to make the tools Jake needed. While he waited, he went back to the Krell ship with food. He carried protein bars and water pouches. Basic supplies from the Wildflower's emergency rations. The young Krell was still in the corner of the command deck. It had not moved. When Jake entered, the creature lifted its head and made a soft sound. "I brought food," Jake said. He held out a protein bar. The Krell sniffed the air. Then it reached out with one clawed hand and took the bar. The creature was careful not to touch Jake with its claws. It unwrapped the bar with surprising delicacy and ate it in one bite. Jake offered another. This time the Krell ate it slower. Jake noticed it was chewing on the left side of its mouth, away from the broken tooth. "Smart," Jake said. "You know it hurts on that side." He sat down on the floor, far enough away to give the creature space. The Krell watched him but seemed to relax a little. "My name is Jake," he said. "What is yours?" The translator crackled. Kreth. Kreth, Jake repeated. That is a good name. What does it mean? Fast hunter, fast hunter. I like it. How old are you, Kreth? There was a pause while the translator worked. 15 cycles. Young adult, 15 cycles. Jake did not know how long a Krell cycle was, but from the creature's size and behavior, he guessed it was like a human teenager, maybe 16 or 17 years old. What were you doing out here alone? Jake asked. Navigation trial. Must fly alone to homeworld. Prove I am adult, a test, a rite of passage. Jake understood that. But your tooth got sick and you could not finish. Kreth made a sound that Jake's translator could not interpret. The creature looked down at the floor. Weak failed. No, Jake said firmly. Not weak. You got hurt. That is not your fault. Getting hurt does not make you weak. Kreth looked up at him with those golden eyes. Jake could see confusion there. And maybe a little hope. You sent a distress signal, Jake continued. That was smart. Asking for help is not weakness. It is survival. They sat in silence for a while. Jake offered more food and water. Kreth ate and drank carefully. Jake noticed the creature was becoming less afraid of him. It stopped flinching when he moved. Why you help? Kreth asked suddenly. I am Krell, you are human. We are not friends. Jake thought about how to answer. My grandfather used to say that pain is pain. Does not matter if you are human or Krell or anything else. When something hurts, you help it. That is what good people do. Krell say weakness must be removed. Injury means you are not fit. Humans say everyone needs help sometimes. We take care of each other. That is how we survive. Kreth was quiet for a long time. Then the translator spoke again. Maybe humans are not prey animals after all. Jake smiled. Maybe not. His radio crackled. Linda's voice came through. Jake, the tools are ready. Bringing them over now. Good. I will meet you at the airlock. He stood up. Kreth made a worried sound. I'm just getting my tools, Jake said. I will be right back. I promise. Linda met him at the airlock with a large case. Inside were the fabricated tools. A dental drill scaled up to handle a tooth the size of a human arm. Surgical clamps. Irrigation tubes. Filling compound. Everything looked crude and oversized, but it would have to work. I also made this, Linda said, holding up a syringe. It was huge, meant for an animal much larger than a human. Nerve block. Based on what we use for large reptiles on Earth, but Jake, I have no idea if it will work, or if it might kill the creature. Jake took the syringe carefully. What is the dosage? I scaled it up from crocodile data, but Krell are not crocodiles. Their metabolism might be different. This could be too much or not enough. If I do not use it, the procedure will be torture. The pain will be too much. And if you use it and get the dose wrong, you might kill him. Jake looked at the syringe, then back at Linda. What would you do? She was quiet for a moment. I would try. Because doing nothing means he dies for sure. Jake nodded. Then that is what we do. He carried the case back to the command deck. Kreth was watching the door, waiting for him. When Jake entered, the creature made a soft chirping sound. Relief. I have the tools, Jake said, setting the case down. Now I need to explain what I am going to do. Can you understand me? Yes. Good. First, I am going to give you medicine for the pain. It will make your jaw feel numb. You will not feel anything for a while. Kreth nodded. The gesture was awkward on the reptilian body, but Jake understood it. Then I am going to clean out the infection. I will use this drill to remove the bad parts of your tooth. It will be loud and scary, but it will not hurt because of the medicine. He showed Kreth the drill. The creature looked at it with wide eyes. After I clean it, I will fill the hole with this compound. It will protect the nerve and help your tooth heal. Do you understand? Understand. Will it work? Jake was honest. I do not know. I have never done this before. Not on a Krell, but if I do not try, the infection will spread. You will die. Kreth was quiet. Then I trust you. Those 3 words hit Jake hard. This creature barely knew him. They were from different species, different worlds. But Kreth trusted him because Jake had shown kindness, had brought food, had spoken gently, had treated the young Krell with respect. Okay, Jake said. Let me give you the medicine first. He prepared the injection. His hands were steady despite his nerves. He had done this before with horses and cattle. Find the nerve. Insert the needle. Inject slowly. Kreth opened his mouth. Jake could see the creature was shaking a little. Scared but brave, this will pinch, Jake said. He found the nerve bundle near the damaged tooth and inserted the needle. Kreth flinched but held still. Jake injected the medicine slowly, watching for any bad reactions. Nothing happened at first. Jake pulled the needle out and stepped back. He watched Kreth carefully, checking breathing, checking for signs of distress. 5 minutes passed, 10, 15. Then Kreth made a surprised sound. Jaw feels strange. Not hurt strange. Jake felt relief wash over him. That is the medicine. It is working. Can you feel this? He touched the swollen area gently. No, feel nothing. Perfect. Now we can start. Jake opened the case and pulled out the drill. It was heavy, designed for tough work. He tested it once. The sound was loud in the quiet ship. Kreth jumped a little but did not pull away. Ready? Jake asked. Kreth took a deep breath, then nodded. Open wide, little dragon, Jake said softly. The nickname just came out. He did not plan it. But somehow it felt right. Kreth opened his mouth, showing all those huge teeth. Jake positioned himself carefully. He activated the drill and began to work. The drill bit into the damaged enamel. Fragments fell away. Jake worked slowly, carefully, removing the infected tissue bit by bit. He used irrigation to wash away debris. His hands were steady. His focus was complete. Kreth held very still. Only small whimpers escaped when Jake hit sensitive spots. But the creature never tried to pull away. Never tried to bite. Just held still and trusted. Time became meaningless. Jake lost himself in the work. Clean the infection. Smooth the edges. Expose the damaged nerve. Remove the dead tissue. Be gentle. Be thorough. His arms ached. His back hurt. The tools were heavy and awkward. But he kept going. Because this creature was depending on him. Because he had promised to help. Finally, after what felt like hours, Jake stepped back. The tooth was clean. The infection was gone. The nerve was exposed but protected. Now came the last part. He mixed the filling compound. It hardened quickly once applied. He had to work fast. He packed it into the cavity layer by layer, building up protection around the exposed nerve. He shaped it carefully, making sure the surface was smooth. Then it was done. Jake set down the tools and sat back. His whole body was shaking from exhaustion. Finished. You did great, Kreth. Really great. Kreth closed his mouth carefully. The creature blinked those golden eyes, then very gently touched Jake's shoulder with one clawed hand. Thank you, the translator said. But Jake heard emotion in the real voice beneath the mechanical translation. Gratitude, relief, trust. You are welcome, little dragon, Jake said. Now rest. Let the medicine work. Jake stayed on the Krell ship for the next 2 days. He slept in short shifts, always near Kreth in case something went wrong. He monitored the young Krell for signs of infection or bad reactions to the medicine. He checked the repaired tooth every few hours. The swelling in Kreth's jaw went down slowly. The dark color faded from the gum tissue. The fever broke on the 2nd day. All good signs. The procedure had worked. Linda brought over more supplies. Food, water, medical equipment. She also brought news. Jake, we need to leave soon. We have been in Krell space for 2 days. Someone is going to notice, I know. Just a few more hours. I need to make sure the infection is really gone. Kreth was getting stronger. The young Krell could move around the ship now without pain. He ate the food Jake brought with enthusiasm. And he talked more, asking questions about humans and Earth. Why humans so small? Kreth asked one time. Jake laughed. We are not small. You are just big. Krell big because we hunt big prey. What do humans hunt? We used to hunt lots of things. But now we mostly grow our food. We plant crops. We raise animals. Kreth thought about this. Strange. Prey that farms. We are not prey, Jake said. We are survivors. We figured out how to make food instead of just finding it. That is why we spread to so many planets. Smart survivors, Kreth said. Then, after a pause, good healers too. Jake showed Kreth how to rinse his mouth with antiseptic solution. The young Krell learned quickly, following instructions with care. You must do this every day, Jake said. 3 times. Morning, noon, and night. It will keep the infection from coming back. I will. I promise, and do not chew hard things on that side. Give it time to heal completely. At least 2 weeks, Kreth nodded. Then the young Krell asked a question that surprised Jake. Will I see you again? Jake felt something in his chest tighten. He had gotten attached to this creature. 2 days of working together, of building trust, had created a bond. I hope so. But I cannot promise. Your people and my people do not usually meet. That is wrong. You are good. Humans should be friends with Krill. Before Jake could answer, an alarm sounded. Linda's voice came over the radio, urgent and scared. Jake! Ship incoming! Big one! Get back here now. Jake ran to the airlock and looked out. A massive Krell warship was dropping out of faster-than-light travel. It was 10 times the size of the Wildflower. Weapon systems glowed along its hull like angry eyes. His blood turned cold. This was it. They had been caught. The Krell would destroy them for violating the treaty. The warship positioned itself between the Wildflower and Kreth's scout ship. Jake watched as weapon ports opened. They were ready to fire. Then a voice came over the communication channel. It was deep like thunder rolling across mountains. The translator struggled to keep up with the growling Krell language. Human vessel. You have violated Krell territory. You have boarded a Krell ship without permission. These are acts of war. Jake grabbed the radio. His mouth was dry. This is Commander Jake Morrison. I responded to a distress signal. Medical emergency. I meant no harm. You entered our space. You touched one of our young. Explain yourself before we destroy you. Behind Jake, Kreth appeared. The young Krell moved quickly to the communication console and started speaking rapidly in his own language. Jake's translator could only catch pieces of it. Father, saved my life, gentle. Fix the pain, please. There was a long silence. Then the deep voice spoke again, this time directed at Kreth. The conversation was too fast for the translator. Jake could only watch as Kreth explained what had happened, gesturing to his repaired tooth pointing at Jake. Finally, the voice switched back to the common language. Commander Morrison, I am War Leader Kreth, the one you helped as my son. Jake felt his legs go weak. This was Kreth's father. A war leader, one of the most powerful Krell in their empire. Sir, Jake said carefully, your son was dying. I did what I could to help him. My son says you performed medicine on him, that you repaired his damaged tooth with great skill and care. I am not a professional doctor. I just used what I knew from working with animals on Earth. You saved his life. The infection would have killed him within days. Yes, sir. I believe so. Another pause. Jake could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. On the bridge of the Wildflower, Linda was probably preparing to run, but they would never make it. The warship would catch them easily. We have heard of humans, Kreth said. Young species. Weak bodies. Prey animals from a soft world. Jake said nothing. What could he say? Compared to Krell, humans were small and weak. Yet you entered our territory knowing the danger. You boarded a ship where a young Krell could have killed you with one bite. You risked your life to save one of us. There was something in the war leader's voice now. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. Why? Jake thought about all the complicated answers he could give. Political reasons. Moral obligations. The value of life. But in the end, he gave the simple truth. He needed help. That was enough reason. The silence that followed was the longest yet. Jake watched the warship, waiting for weapons to charge, waiting for the end. Then Kreth spoke again. Commander Morrison, I wish to meet you in person. Will you come aboard my vessel? Jake looked at Kreth. The young Krell made an encouraging gesture with his claws. Is that a request or an order? Jake asked. A request. You have my word that you will not be harmed. I wish to discuss something important. Jake made his decision. He had come this far on trust. Might as well go all the way. I accept. Give me 10 minutes. He radioed Linda and told her what was happening. She was not happy about it. Jake, this is insane. They could kill you. They could have killed us already, but they did not. Kreth wants to talk. I have to hear what he has to say, and if you do not come back, then tell everyone what happened here. Tell them a human helped a Krell and it mattered. He paused. But I think I will come back. I think something good is about to happen. A shuttle arrived from the warship. It was built for Krell, so Jake felt tiny inside it. The pilot said nothing during the short trip. Jake sat in a seat designed for a creature 3 times his size and tried to stay calm. The warship was massive inside. The corridors were wide enough to drive trucks through. The ceilings were lost in shadow above. Everything was built on a scale that made Jake feel like an insect. Guards escorted him through the ship. They were fully armored Krell warriors, each one carrying weapons that could probably destroy a building. They did not threaten Jake, but their presence was intimidating enough. They brought him to what looked like a medical bay. Several Krell were there, all of them with visible dental problems, broken teeth, swollen jaws, signs of infection and pain. In the center of the room stood War Leader Krenth. He was enormous even for a Krell. At least 25 feet tall, covered in black scales that looked like metal plates. Scars crossed his body marking old battles. His eyes were the same gold as his son's, but harder, colder. Those eyes focused on Jake. The War Leader leaned down, bringing his massive head level with Jake's. When he spoke, the words rumbled like an earthquake. "You are smaller than I expected." Jake tried to smile. "You are bigger than I expected." Krenth made a sound that might have been laughter. Then he straightened up and gestured to the other Krell in the room. "These warriors all suffer from tooth damage. We Krell have strong teeth, but they are also our weakness. We use them as weapons in battle. They crack. They break. Infection follows." Jake looked at the assembled Krell. He saw pain in their eyes, the same pain he had seen in Kreth. "We have no tradition of dental medicine," Krenth continued. "Pain is accepted, or the tooth is removed entirely, marking the warrior as damaged. My son would have lost his fang, or died from the infection spreading to his blood." Jake began to understand why he was here. "You want me to help them too, can you?" Jake looked at the Krell again. Each one represented a challenge. Different injuries, different problems, but the same basic need, relief from pain. "I can try," Jake said, "but I will need better equipment, and I will need to learn more about Krell biology. I was lucky with your son. Luck will not be enough for all of them. You will have everything you need. Our medical staff will share all knowledge. Our fabricators will make any tools you require." Jake nodded slowly. Then he said something that surprised even himself. "I have a condition." Krenth's eyes narrowed. "You dare make demands of a war leader?" "Not a demand. A request. If I teach you this medicine, you must share it with others, not just Krell, any species that needs it. Pain should not be kept secret. Help should not be limited to one people." The war leader stared at him. Jake held his ground even though his knees were shaking. Around the room, other Krell watched in silence. Then Krenth threw back his head and made a sound that shook the walls. Jake's translator struggled with it, finally settling on one word. "Laughter. Prey species who think like healers," Krenth said when he could speak again. "Humans are strange indeed." "Very well, Commander Morrison. We accept your terms." Jake stayed on the Krell warship for 3 weeks. The medical staff gave him access to their entire biological database. He studied Krell anatomy, learned about their nervous system, understood their metabolism. It was like going back to school, except his teachers were 20-foot-tall reptiles. The fabricators made new tools based on his designs: proper dental drills, surgical lighting, irrigation systems, filling compounds that worked with Krell tooth structure. Everything he needed to do the job right. He started with the easiest cases. Simple cracks, minor infections. Each procedure taught him something new. Krell teeth were harder than human teeth. The nerves were deeper. The healing process was faster. But the principles were the same. Word spread through the ship. The small human who fixed teeth. The healer who worked gently. Warriors who had lived with pain for years came to see him. At first they were skeptical. Some were hostile. But when they saw the results, when their pain ended, they became believers. Krenth helped translate and assist. The young Krell had decided he wanted to learn this medicine too. He watched everything Jake did, asked questions, took notes. His hands were too big for fine work, but he was learning the theory. "Why you care so much?" Krenth asked one day while they cleaned tools after a procedure. "These warriors are not your people." Jake thought about how to answer. "My grandfather taught me something. He said pain is universal. Does not matter what species you are. When you hurt, and when you can stop that hurt, you should. Krell believe pain makes you strong. Maybe. But unnecessary pain just makes you suffer. There is no honor in a toothache." Krenth was quiet for a moment. Then he said something surprising. "I think humans are stronger than Krell in some ways." "How do you figure that?" "Krell are strong in body. We can fight. We can hunt. We can survive harsh worlds. But humans are strong in spirit. You help others even when it does not benefit you. That is a different kind of strength," Jake smiled. "That is the nicest thing anyone has ever said about my species." By the end of the 3 weeks, Jake had treated 42 Krell. Each one left his medical bay with less pain and more respect for humans. Story spread. The prey species that healed. The small creature with gentle hands. War leader Krenth called a meeting on the final day. Jake stood in the command center surrounded by officers and warriors. All of them towered over him. All of them could have killed him without effort. But when they looked at him now, there was no hostility. Only curiosity and respect, Commander Morrison, Krenth said. You have done something unprecedented. You have brought medicine to a people who had none. You have ended suffering that we accepted as normal. I just did what I could, Jake said. You did more than that. You changed how we think. For generations, Krell believed that showing weakness was shameful, that asking for help was cowardice. But you showed us that healing is strength, that caring for others is honor. Krenth gestured to Kreth, who stepped forward carrying a data device. My son has recorded everything you taught him. Every procedure. Every technique. Every piece of knowledge. As you requested, we will share this with other species. Thank you, Jake said. That means a lot, but we ask something in return. Will you continue this work? Will you teach others? We cannot be the only species that needs this medicine. Jake had been thinking about this. I need to talk to my people first. Get proper authorization. But yes, I want to continue. Then we will help you. The Krell Empire will provide resources, ships, equipment, protection. You will have everything needed to bring healing to the galaxy. Jake felt overwhelmed. One distress signal, one decision to help, and now it was turning into something much bigger. When Jake returned to the wildflower, Linda hugged him hard. 3 weeks. I thought you were dead. Sorry, I was busy. Busy? Jake, you started an interspecies medical program. The Krell are talking about opening their borders. There are messages from a dozen other species asking if humans can help them too. Really, you are famous now. The human who healed the Krell. Every news service in the galaxy is running stories about you. Jake sat down heavily. I just wanted to help a kid with a toothache. Well, you started something much bigger. Human government wants to talk to you. So does the Galactic Council, and about 50 different medical organizations. Over the next month, things moved fast. The human government, seeing an opportunity for better relations with other species, approved the medical exchange program. Jake became the director. The Wildflower was refitted as a mobile medical vessel with proper facilities. Other species started reaching out. The Vrex had problems with their compound eyes. Their doctors did not know how to fix certain types of damage. Jake studied their biology and developed new procedures. The Thorians had issues with their crystal bone structures. Again, Jake adapted techniques from Earth medicine to help them. Each species he helped opened their borders a little more. Trade increased. Cooperation grew. Tensions that had existed for centuries began to ease, all because someone had chosen to help instead of ignore. Kreth joined Jake as his assistant. The young Krell had a talent for healing. Despite his size, he was gentle and patient. He understood pain because he had felt it. That made him a good healer. They traveled together from system to system, helping, teaching, building bridges between species that had never talked before. The work was hard but rewarding. 6 months after that first distress signal, Jake sat in the Wildflower's medical bay preparing for another procedure. A Vrex patient was coming in with a damaged eye lens. Routine work now, but still important. Kreth was organizing supplies. The young Krell had grown more confident. He no longer saw himself as weak or failed. He had found his purpose. Jake, Kreth said, I have question. Go ahead. You changed the galaxy. All because you answered distress signal. All because you helped me. Did you know this would happen? Jake laughed. No, I had no idea. I just saw someone who needed help and I helped them. That is very human. Maybe. Or maybe it is just being decent. I think most species would do the same if they stopped being afraid of each other. Kreth thought about this. My people have saying now. Come here, little animal, your tooth is sick, I will fix it gently. It means to offer help without asking for payment. To be strong through kindness. Jake felt his throat tighten with emotion. That is beautiful. It is human saying. We just put it in Krell words. You taught us this. That helping others is not weakness. That caring is strength. The Vrex patient arrived. Jake and Kreth worked together. Their movements synchronized from months of practice. The procedure went smoothly. Another being without pain. Another bridge built. After the patient left, Linda came to the medical bay with news. Jake, we got a message from the Galactic Council. They want to make the medical exchange program official. Permanent funding. Recognition as a galactic service. This is big, Jake nodded. Good. That means we can help more people. They also want to give you an award. The Star of Unity. It has never been given to a human before. I do not need an award. The work is reward enough, Linda smiled. That is exactly why they want to give it to you. That night, Jake stood in the observation deck looking at the stars. So many worlds out there. So many different species. All of them capable of pain. All of them deserving of help. Kreth joined him. The young Krell had become more than an assistant. He was a friend. A partner in this work. What are you thinking? Kreth asked. I am thinking about how one small choice can change everything. I could have ignored your distress signal. I could have stayed in safe space. But I did not. And now look what happened. You were brave. I was scared. But I think being brave means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. Kreth nodded. Humans understand things that Krell are only learning. That strength is not just physical power. That courage is not just fighting. That the bravest act is sometimes kindness. Jake thought about his grandfather. The old man would have been proud. He had taught Jake to help those in need, to never turn away from suffering. Those lessons learned on a farm in Montana had somehow changed the entire galaxy. You know what the best part is? Jake said, What? We are just getting started. There are hundreds of species out there, each one with their own medical problems, each one that needs help. We have so much work to do. Kreth made a sound that was almost a purr. Good, I like the work. I like helping others. You showed me that is not weakness. It never was. Your people just had to learn that. They stood together in silence, looking at the stars. A human and a Krell, partners in healing, friends across species lines. Proof that kindness could bridge any divide. Tomorrow they would travel to another system. Another species. Another opportunity to help. But for now they just stood and watched the universe spin. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, other beings were sending distress signals. Other creatures were suffering. But now there was hope. Because someone would answer, someone would help. Because humans had taught the galaxy a simple truth, that caring for others is not weakness, that helping those in pain is the highest form of strength, that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to be gentle. 2 years passed. The medical exchange program grew from a small operation on the Wildflower to a galaxy-wide network. Jake trained hundreds of doctors from dozens of species. Each one learned not just the techniques, but the philosophy behind them. Help first, ask questions later. Pain knows no borders. The Wildflower was now just one of 50 medical vessels traveling the galaxy. Each ship had a mixed crew. Humans, Krell, Vrexthorians, and others working together. Species that had been enemies were now colleagues, friends. Jake still flew his original ship, though. Linda remained his co-pilot. Kreth was now a fully trained medical assistant, as skilled as any human doctor. The three of them had become a legendary team. They were traveling to a new system when the call came in. Another distress signal, but this one was different. It was not from a single ship. It was from an entire planet. What species? Jake asked. Linda checked the database. Xinthian. We do not have much information on them. They are isolationists. Never joined the Galactic Council. Never shared their technology or biology. What is the emergency? Medical crisis. Some kind of plague affecting their young. They are asking for help from the human medical program. Jake looked at Kreth. The young Krell nodded. They both knew what they had to do. Set course, Jake said. Maximum speed. The Xinthian homeworld was beautiful. Blue oceans. Green continents. White clouds. But when they entered orbit, they could see the cities below were dark. No lights. No activity. A shuttle met them and brought them down to the largest city. The Xinthians were insectoid creatures about human height but with 6 legs and compound eyes. Their bodies were covered in chitinous armor that shimmered with colors. The leader who met them was named Zix. She spoke through a translator, her voice clicking and buzzing. Thank you for coming. We are desperate. Our children are dying. Tell us what is happening, Jake said. Zix led them to a medical facility. Inside were hundreds of young Xinthians. All of them were lethargic, barely moving. Their colors were dull. Their compound eyes were clouded. It started 3 months ago, Zix explained. First one child became sick, then more. Now thousands across the planet. Our doctors cannot find the cause. We are losing them. Jake examined several of the young Xinthians. Their symptoms were similar. Lethargy, discoloration, difficulty eating. He noticed they all kept their mandibles clenched tight. Can I look inside the mouth? Jake asked. Zix seemed surprised by the question but agreed. With gentle pressure, Jake opened one child's mandibles. Inside, he saw the problem immediately. The grinding surfaces of the mouthparts were covered in infections. Painful sores. Inflamed tissue. He checked another child. Same problem. And another. All of them. It is a mouth infection, Jake said. All of them have it. Zix looked confused. But how? This has never happened before. Why now? Why so many? Jake asked more questions. What had changed recently? Was there anything new? Zix thought hard, then remembered. We started importing a new food 3 months ago. A processed grain from another world. It was cheaper than our traditional foods. We thought it would help feed our growing population. Jake asked to see the food. It was a hard, dense grain that required lots of chewing. He examined it under a microscope. The grain was fine, but it was much harder than traditional Xinthian food. Children eating it were wearing down their mouthparts, creating tiny injuries. Those injuries became infected. Stop feeding them this grain, Jake said. Immediately. Switch back to soft foods, traditional diet. But what about the infections? We can treat those. I need to study your biology first, but the principle is the same as other species. Clean the infected areas, apply antibiotics, give them time to heal. Jake, Kreth, and Linda worked for 3 days straight. They analyzed Xinthian biology, developed treatment protocols, trained local doctors, started treating the sickest children first. The response was dramatic. Within hours of treatment, children started moving again. Their colors brightened. They could eat without pain. Within days, the crisis was over. Zix was overwhelmed with gratitude. You saved our children, our entire next generation. We can never repay you. You do not need to repay us, Jake said. Just pay it forward. Help others when you can. Share what you learned. That is all we ask. The Xinthians, who had been isolated for centuries, decided to join the Galactic Council. They opened their borders. They shared their technology. All because someone had helped them when they needed it most. Back on the Wildflower, Jake sat in his quarters writing a report. Krith knocked and entered. Another species saved, the young Krell said. Another border opened. You keep changing the galaxy, Jake. We keep changing it. This is not just me anymore. There are hundreds of doctors out there doing this work now. Human, Krell, Vrex, Thorian, and now Xinthian too. But it started with you, one human who answered a distress signal. Jake smiled. It started with a scared kid who sent that signal. You were brave to ask for help. Kreth sat down. His large body made the human-sized chair creak. I have been thinking about what humans have taught the galaxy. What is that? That being strong is not about having big teeth or thick armor or powerful weapons. Real strength is caring about others. Real courage is being kind even when it is hard. Jake felt emotion welling up in his chest. My grandfather would have liked you. I wish I could have met him. He must have been a great healer. He was. He taught me everything important. Not just medicine, but how to see others, how to care, how to help without expecting anything back. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Kreth asked the question that had been on his mind. Do you ever think about that day? When you found me? Every day. That was the day everything changed. Do you regret it? Your life is so different now. You could have stayed a simple cargo pilot. Jake thought about it. His life was harder now. More responsibility, more pressure, but also more meaningful. No regrets, not one. You needed help, I gave it. Everything that came after was just the natural result of that choice. Simple choice, big consequences. That is how the universe works sometimes. Small acts of kindness ripple outward. They touch more lives than we can imagine. Linda poked her head into the quarters. Jake, Kreth, you need to see this. They followed her to the bridge. On the main screen was a news broadcast from Earth. The reporter was talking about humanity's place in the galaxy. How humans had become known as healers. How other species now sought human help and friendship. For centuries, humans feared we were alone in the universe, the reporter said. Then we found other species and feared we were too weak to survive among them. But Commander Jake Morrison showed us a different path. He proved that compassion is power, that healing is strength, that the best way to find friends is to help others. The broadcast showed images from across the galaxy, human doctors working with Krell, treating Vrex, healing Thorians, teaching Xinthians, a network of care-spanning stars. Humans are now the most trusted species in the galaxy, the reporter continued. Not because we are the strongest or the smartest, but because we care. Because when others suffer, we help. That is what makes humanity great. Jake turned off the screen. That is too much praise. We are just doing what anyone should do. But other species were not doing it, Linda said. You changed that. You showed everyone a better way. That night, Jake stood in the observation deck again, his favorite spot on the ship, the place where he came to think. Kreth joined him as he often did. I have news, Kreth said. Good news. What is it? My father wants to start a formal alliance between Krell and humans. Not just medical cooperation. Full diplomatic relations, trade, cultural exchange, everything. Jake felt his eyes widen. That is huge. The Krell have never allied with anyone. We never had reason to trust anyone before, but you gave us that reason. You showed us what friendship looks like. Your father is a wise leader. He says you taught him wisdom, that sometimes the strongest warriors are the ones who know when not to fight. They watched the stars in silence. After a while, Jake spoke again. You know what the best part of all this is? What? It is not about me anymore. The medical program is bigger than one person now. Even if I stopped tomorrow, it would continue. Hundreds of doctors trained, thousands of patients treated, millions of lives touched. That will keep going. You built something that will last forever. We built it together. You, me, Linda, and everyone else who believed that helping others matters. Kreeth made a contented sound. I am glad I sent that distress signal. I am glad you answered it. Me too, little dragon. Me too. The next morning brought another distress signal, this time from a species they had never heard of. The message was simple. Medical emergency. Please help. Jake looked at his crew. Linda at the controls. Kreth checking medical supplies. Both of them ready. Both of them committed to the mission. Course plotted, Linda said. Medical bay ready. Kreth reported. Jake smiled. Then let us go help someone. That is what we do. The wildflower turned toward the signal and accelerated. Behind them across the galaxy, other medical ships were doing the same. Answering calls. Helping those in need. Building bridges between species. It had started with one human answering one distress signal. One decision to help instead of ignore. One choice to be kind instead of afraid. And that choice had changed everything.